Welcome to the Larsen Global Podcast. I'm Ryan Kaltenbaugh. We have our first video podcast today. I'm here with Collette Larsen in her home. Thank you for having us in your home, Collette.
Our first. These guys are always throwing new technology at me, but it's fun.
We thought we'd give this a try, something new and fun for a change. Today we're going to talk about coaching, and we have the USANA convention coming up, the 20-year anniversary. This is Colette's 18th year in USANA, believe it or not. And she has a lot of experience being coached, coaching, mentoring, and we're going to talk about those differences today. So let's maybe actually start with what you believe is the difference between a coach and a mentor.
You know, I've pondered that because people will say, you know, he's a mentor to me, or she's my coach. I think it's a little fuzzy, to tell you the truth. I think there's a lot of crossover. But for me, when I think of a mentor, I think of a more personal relationship, more reciprocal give and take. I have dear friends that I consider mentors. Coaching, I think, is more maybe goal-oriented or specific outcome-oriented. Like hiring a coach to get you to a certain level. I think a coach isn't so, I guess I'd say married. A mentor isn't so married to the outcome as helping you
Do the process,
asking more questions, helping you find, uncover yourself, where a coach might give more specific instruction, direction, training. I think of a personal trainer as a coach, for instance, rather than as a mentor.
Less about the relationship then and more about the end result being for a coach.
Yeah.
And so how is a coach different from listening to maybe a great talk at convention? Because we're going to hear a lot of those.
Oh, yes.
And those are definitely inspirational, and you could think of those people as mentors as you listen to them on podcasts or on Life Masters. What's the
And you're going to
there?
be inspired with this. I'm so excited about this convention coming up, our 20-year anniversary. I can't wait. And I always leave convention so inspired. I always say, motivation comes from within. But that inspiration is what gets that spark going, gets that fire going in me. I see coaching as there's more follow-up, there's more accountability. We're going to hear from great speakers at convention, but they're not going to be on the phone with us the week after convention saying, now, did you complete that commitment that you made at convention? That's the difference, and that's why I believe coming out of this convention, if you have made an agreement or even hired a coach, and we'll talk about different ways that you can, use coaching in your life, but so many of us leave convention so fired up, and then life hits, and a month later we're going, what happened to all that inspiration, that motivation I felt? A coach can help keep you at that higher level, I believe.
So what are some best practices for being coached or coaches? What do you want to get out of a coach?
Well, I believe that when you hire a coach or you make an agreement with someone to be your coach, you enter into this synergistic partnership. You give them permission to hold you accountable, and they will pull out of you what you are unable or unwilling to pull out of yourself. We see this in sports all the time. Right. Ryan, you could talk about this. Even the greatest athletes have coaches. And I was thinking, Dax is sitting here filming us, and he recently did a video about stuff that runners say. And it's so, we talked about how even when trail runners are being filmed, or I see this even at the USANA convention when we do the 5K run for the Children's Hunger Fund, if I see a camera coming up, even if I'm just like, I can't, but you see that you're being filmed, all of a sudden it's like, it's like you reach in and bring something out of you that you didn't know was there.
Brings out the best of you, right?
Yeah, and that's what coaching, why does Tiger Woods have a coach? Why do the finest, the Olympics are coming up. These individuals are at the top of their game, and yet they still have coaches that are able to help them reach down and bring up something that they didn't even know was there.
And I think an important point with that is all the coaching that you can receive, it actually ends up, the result comes from what you do on the field. It's not the coaches that ever are the ones winning the championship.
Right.
It's the players on the field or the people that are trying to achieve. So the coaches can put you in the right position to succeed and give you the motivation and the energy, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to you, and it's the same in the USANA business.
Yeah, we always we tend to do more when we're challenged by someone else. We tend to do more if we feel like we're part of a team effort. I remember a few years ago, and I can't remember the specifics of this, but I used it in one of my USANA presentations, and it just snapped in my brain. But they said the one of the races, the best time was actually clocked by someone who didn't win the gold medal because they were part of a relay team.
Right.
You know, they were being challenged by the other members of their team, and they actually had a better time than the person that won the gold medal in that particular distance, but they were part of a relay. So we tend to do better when we're challenged by someone else. We, in our family, we've got these new, I mentioned this, I think, on our last podcast, you know, these Nike fuel bands. Why do I need a fuel band? I mean, this should be an advertisement for Nike. Maybe I'll write them and ask them if I can get some commission. But, you know, I'm always calling Ryan or Charlie or Zach or Chelsea and saying, what are you at today? I mean, Ryan and I, just before this started, we compared our points. We're challenging each other, and knowing that I have to be held accountable to a silly fuel band makes me more active during the day. It kind of doesn't make any sense, but it's just a fact of human nature, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Accountability is huge with coaching and with mentoring. You've often said that the best coaches are the ones that have actually played the game, and that can especially be the case in USANA, and I'm wondering why you say that and why you think it.
Well, as I have done so many times over the last 18 years, it is a woman's prerogative to change her mind. It actually says that on the Join Larsen Global website. I say, you know, the best coaches have played the game themselves. And I do believe that's true in some instances. But the older I get, the more I tend to think there might be some caveats to that. Now, in our industry, for instance, in building a USANA business, I think it's very helpful to be coached by someone who has already done it or is also doing it. Because, for a lot of reasons, we can either nudge you off out of your comfort zone, off your home base, so to speak, or where you're feeling safe. We can nudge you because we know what's possible, but we can also help manage your expectations. One of the things I don't like to see people do is sign their application. They're saying, now I need to be a diamond director in 3 months. I have to. I'm going to be. If you believe it, you can do it. And
we've seen some of those, haven't we?
and
it's tough.
They're setting themselves up for failure.
Yeah, it's difficult.
And if you're in the game yourself, if you played the game yourself, you can help manage those expectations and help them be more realistic. Because, they might be able to be diamond in 3 months, but, chances are likely they'll be divorced by then. And, things like, you have to help them balance their whole life and realize that, there's going to be consequences to those actions.
And yet, on the other hand, someone may have looked at you and you may have told them that I'm going to achieve these things, and looked at your situation and then tried to tell you that wasn't going to be the case. And maybe throw a little realism onto you.
And that's
so there's a balance,
There's a fine line there, because I find myself sometimes even giving permission to people to not be as good as I think they can be. I don't make the greatest coach. I'm a better mentor than
I was going to
coach.
ask you about people that wanted, we're seeing this and then obviously seeing your success and saying, oh, well, I want Collette to be my coach. What have your experiences been being a coach? Which is a little bit different than an upline, right?
Yes,
We're talking about the more formal, actually coaching where you're holding somebody accountable. There's maybe even not a contract, but something that you're signing, something very official.
Some people do sign contracts. This is what I promised to do, and there's going to be risk and rewards involved and all of that. The reason I say I don't think I'd be the greatest coach, and I probably won't be hanging that shingle outside my office, is because I think a really good coach cannot be attached in any way to his own comfort or to your comfort. They are committed to your achievement, to your performance, and to the point that they might even annoy you, and they don't care what you think about them. I really like to be loved.
I sometimes wish I had more of that in me. Not caring what other people think. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
It'd be very free.
Coaches, they don't care what you think. I mean, you can be annoyed. They are committed to your excellence, to your performance. And I tend to let people off the hook. I mean, I will have people say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And if they don't, I go, oh, honey, that's okay.
Life gets in the way.
That's okay.
All those
and
things.
so I think I make a better mentor than I do a coach.
Who do you think needs a coach? Do you think everyone does, or are there people that don't, or?
I think the only people that need a coach are people who want to have more, do more, be more.
Okay, so everyone, right?
Basically, I think we all need coaching.
Right.
I really do.
And what, we talked about some of the strengths of having a coach versus a mentor. What if you are on a tight budget? What are some ways that you can maybe get by with a less formal coach where it's professional and they have set fees and something more formal like that? Is there a way to get by on a tighter budget? 'Cause
I've done both.
situation.
I've actually hired a coach, and I paid a lot of money to a coach. This was a number of years ago when I was stuck in several areas of my life, and my coach helped me break through those barriers. And I think one of the reasons that I completed all the assignments and was able to, it was a weekly call that I did, is because I was paying a lot of money for it. So it's sort of that thing that we've
Right.
seen in USANA, that sometimes if we, use an incentive to help people get involved, they drop out really quickly because
Right.
they don't have much skin in the game, I guess
Yeah.
you'd call it.
And you get what you pay for a lot of times as well. As if you are really investing in a pretty expensive coach, somebody that's very professional, you will definitely be more motivated to achieve than you would somebody that maybe is just kind of helping you out, and maybe you've decided to say, you hold me accountable and I'll hold you accountable, and maybe it's less formal, maybe that doesn't work out as well.
For some people, it might not.
Okay.
However, if someone had told me when I was starting my USANA business that I was going to need to pay, several thousand a month for a coach, or even several hundred, I couldn't have done it. So another thing that has worked well for me, and I've actually done this with my daughter Chelsea on various, this wasn't business related, but on different things in our lives.
It's more chocolate related, right?
I was going to say it was related to too much chocolate.
Sorry.
Busted. But Chelsea and I promised each other, we made a promise about our overindulgence of chocolate. And because I promised her, there was no way I was going to put a bite of chocolate in my mouth, because I gave her my word. So again, if you can't afford to hire a coach, you're really on a shoestring budget, you can do like my daughter Chelsea and I have done, and make an agreement with each other, hold each other accountable, but there has to be a timeline. There has to be, we talked every day. We held each other accountable on a daily basis. And so you can do that. But I think there needs to be something formal to it. I really do. To have a coaching agreement. You've given each other permission to hold you accountable.
Yeah, the
So that can be
accountability
done.
really seems like the most important part out of all of this that we
I think
talked
so.
about.
Yeah, I agree.
We have so much we want to say about coaching. Let's take this to a second part. We'll be back with you next week, talk more about coaching. Be sure to leave your comments below, though. We want to keep this conversation going. And thank you for joining us, Collette. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ryan.
And
And how many points do you have?
Oh,
I'm just
I
curious.
took mine off.
Okay. We'll see you next week.
Take care.